Like, she gobble-glocked it, dude. She wasn't coming off either. Boys, I got a story for you, and it's kind of absolutely insane, and it breaks every rule that we know about fishing, and that's what I kind of like about it. So you guys know, every year I do a trip with my buddy David, Fido Beto. It's the guy we caught 49 pounds with, dude. Just a great buddy, and we always do a Florida trip. Every year, it's like our annual thing, right? And he's always bringing crazy stuff, dude. So like, way back in the day before it was cool, he brought like a HUD up, and then dude, one day he brought up like a giant, like 2-ounce like rattle trap, like this giant thing. He's like, we're gonna catch him on it. We didn't. But like, he's always trying things, and David's a super dimensional fisherman. He does some saltwater fishing, bank fishing, like canal fishing, all kinds of different stuff. So he gets here, like Friday night, and he's like, dude, I got something for you. And I'm like, this should be interesting, because it's always a surprise, right? So he goes and digs in his bag, and he pulls these out. This is actually a really popular bait in Florida for saltwater fishing and snook. It's the voodoo shrimp, right? And I'm like, bro, whatever makes you happy, dude. I'll tie it on a rod for you, you know? So we go out, man, and we're like minnow dangling, dragging worms around and stuff. And bro, he hooks up with like a 9 and change on the shrimp. And I'm like, no effing way. Like, are you kidding me, dude? If you figured out some top secret like shrimp McShrimperson thing, dude, I'm gonna lose my damn mind. My buddy Ryan Salzman always said this: one fish, yeah, it is what it is. Buddy got kind of lucky. 2 fish is a pattern. Well, you know what happened? Like literally like 30, 40 minutes later, he catches another one. I think it was like 8 and change or like over 9. And I'm like, huh, look at that thing. Dude, she chunked the shrimp. This is unbelievable.
I gotta get a picture of that.
Bro, chunking the shrimp. So now I'm taking things very seriously. And literally probably 2 hours later, he caught another like 6.5. Now I'm taking things extremely seriously, like dangerously, like I can't believe this seriously. And you know, it's not mind shattering, but it is something where, you know, we all get stuck in our like blocks, right? Like I'm so into bass fishing, you know, I'm like so in the sort of like media circle of thinking about baits, thinking about what you use, tournament stuff. And you sometimes get tunnel vision, I think they call it, where you only see what's right in front of you, what's being plugged in the news. And sometimes you lose your ability to see outside the lines, outside the basic sort of general themes of what you're doing. And the fact is, a lot of the new baits that have come into play break all the rules that we normally think about. So first off, let me show you something about this shrimp. So this is the shrimp David was actually using. And what's really interesting about it is everything is different and the same, right? So it's basically kind of a Ned style bait, but it has what reminds me a lot of sort of a wacky rig mechanical tail. The tail's super cool. You see how it kind of like goes back and forth with those different segments in that? And the more I started to look at it, the more I thought about like, this falls into this concept that I've been thinking about with finesse fishing. Like we've seen it a lot, you know, come summer, some of these finesse techniques are gonna kind of go down the drain because the fish get a little more active, but we've seen such a focus, you know, all these Florida tournaments, like a stick bait, a fat ace, a Cinco, like have been huge players, but creating variations of one of the most fish catching baits, in my opinion, the stick bait, has been the real art of a lot of these finesse techniques. And what I'm talking about is kind of thinking outside the box, and a lot of it comes from JDM stuff. A great example is the dice concept. So this is the drift crab from Jackal. Once again, saltwater technique, right? Or saltwater style bait. There aren't crabs in freshwater lakes unless you're fishing like a tidal place. The other one, and I've showed you this guy and how to make a knockoff. This is the OSP dice. Super popular bait. G-Crack is now making one in that style, a little bit bigger, a little bit more durable. You can see with the skirt material flying out. Another great example of this kind of stuff are these guys, and it's G-Crack, or this is actually the Raid version, the Hira Taylor. So it's these brim style or shaped looking baits, but they're not freaking brim, dude. Like they're this bizarre creature looking bait. So I tried to kind of start like seeing some relations. And like I said, this isn't earth shattering. It just kind of blew my mind because there aren't any shrimp on these lakes, you know, and he's catching them on a shrimp. So what's sort of the key operating like function that's drawing those fish in? And when I started thinking about it, it really has to do with getting this undulating or this flaring style action or this twitch style action, which is much related to kind of like the minnow fishing we're doing and then like fishing a stick bait, right? A lot of these baits incorporate aspects that sort of either act like kind of like a wacky style rig, kind of like that shrimp, right? Or they incorporate kind of this flaring. So for instance, with the dice, it's a great example where it's practically, it's a ball, but it acts like a stick bait because it sinks and maybe it jiggles a little with that skirt material, but the skirt material actually causes it to kind of flare and flex. The same thing with either the Hero Taylor or the G-Crack. It's a straight style kind of body. It looks kind of like a brim, but it's a straight style body, but it has all these crazy ridges in it, and it creates this sort of flexing, ever so slight, especially with the G-Crack, this sort of tail twitching action that's not like a kicking style action or a swimming style action. It's this flexing sort of twitching action. I think that's something you're gonna see more of. It's gonna be baits that are kind of like outside the box when it comes to shapes, when it comes to forms, and when it comes to appendages. And you're gonna see kind of like a push away from the flappy doodle style appendages, especially in this finesse category. And you're gonna see a lot more sort of flexing, undulating, sort of like twitchy style deals, because that's what's been so popular. So taking that and kind of exploring it in different functions, like the stupid shrimp. I hate the shrimp, but like I see why it works, right? That tail is like a crazy different form of a wacky rig, and it's on like a little net head. So concepts like that where you're kind of like varying that finesse aspect and getting way outside the box, like crab style baits, shrimp style baits, little micro creatures, or like creatures like the G-Crack, and then putting maybe a little boot tail on it. They got a new bait like that, but you're still using that flexy kind of crazy undulating body with that little twitch tail. I think you're gonna see a lot more of that stuff because it seems like with all the pressure these lakes have been getting, I see more fishermen out, which is a good thing, right? I want more people to fish, but it also does in the end result in fish seeing a lot more baits, not reacting as well to some of our more traditional categories, some of our more traditional picks. And those kinds of picks or the styles of those baits still work, but you need to take it to the next level, right? You need to do something that sort of varies that presentation ever so slightly. That can be on rigging, you know, but it also can be in the shape and sort of the action of the bait, creating a slightly different action that still offers that subtlety and maybe a little bit more vibration or undulation than your standard stick bait. Everything's kind of like a variation of a stick bait in my mind, kind of drawing that action and expanding it into other things. It was so crazy to see him whack those giant fish on that frickin' shrimp. Like, I'm like, there are no shrimp in here. This makes no sense. But then as I thought deeper about it, aspects of those shrimp make every bit of sense when it comes to fishing, because it's not so much about what it looks like. Dude, they make crankbaits that look like bait fish. You grind them into the bottom and I think the fish think they're crayfish, you know? Like, so like, it's not so much what it appears to be, it's how it behaves in the water and the action that it renders, and sort of isolating the concepts of that action that soft plastic is offering and looking for it in other products, whether they're saltwater, freshwater, or some kind of new JDM development kind of thing. And that's, I think, gonna be one of the keys to kind of finesse moving forward for catching some of these highly pressured fish. But that's just my 2 cents. Tell me what you guys think. Are there any like crazy finesse lures that you're using? Maybe even garage plastics. There's a lot of crazy, like, you know, my buddy made this kind of deal that are coming out. So if you're willing to share some secrets, just drop them down in the comments box. I'd like to hear about it. Also, I wanna know what your experience has been with baits like the Dice, with the G-Crack, with other kind of like JDM or even like American baits that offer these weird presentations but still fall in that category of finesse, but do this different kind of action because they made some slight tweak or some slight change. They put ribs on it. They did X, Y, and Z. Drop it down in the comments box. I'll put links to the stuff that we talked about in the description box at Tackle Warehouse and Monster Bass for you guys to check out. Definitely want to try this though. If you're into finesse or you feel like your lake's getting pressured and the stick bait or your standard kind of, you know, finesse, maybe a little trick worm and stuff isn't performing like it once did, you need to look at some of this stuff because it's the same concept. It might look kind of funny, but it freaking works. Even if it doesn't look like something that might be in your lake that the bass eat. It's absolutely crazy. Hit that like and subscribe button for me, my homies. I'm gonna go get out of the water and go try to pull on a few. If you figured out some top secret like shrimp McShrimperson thing, dude, I'm gonna lose my damn mind. Let's get her in the well, dude. We'll get some pictures.